I'm moving to the dark side.
Well, part shade actually, to show you that full sun's not the only place where you can grow productive plants. A garden that receives between 6 and 8 hours of sunlight a day is perfect for growing produce like, say, citrus, tomatoes or artichokes. But there are fruits and veg that will grow with a lot less sunlight. Over here is a shadier part of the patch. It receives light on and off throughout the day, depending on the position of the sun. And this situation, or an area that receives consistent filtered light, will do for some productive plants. If you're growing things that mature in one season, like lettuce, consistency doesn't matter. But some longer-lived plants will struggle on a site that becomes fully shaded in winter or baking full sun in summer. If you're not sure about what the sun will do, use pots, so you can shift plants around and observe the site over a year to see how it behaves. No matter the light conditions, prepare your soil for what you're putting in. The leafy greens I'm planting today all have a light, organic, rich soil. So I'm adding plenty of compost and I'm going to push their growth along with a good dose of blood and bone. Now, most plants will cope with part shade, but a general rule of thumb is those with large, thin leaves are more shade tolerant. Rhubarb fits that bill. Now, being a crown crop, it doesn't like a boggy soil, so make sure yours drains well. And when you're planting it, bury most of it, making sure that these eyes are just proud of the surface. There are many herbs that will do quite well in a part shade position, but in my opinion, the ones that do the best are the whole mint family and parsley. This is perpetual spinach, but it's not actually related to spinach. Its botanical name is Beta vulgaris, so it's pretty much the same plant as beetroot and silver beet. It's just been bred to have different characteristics. Being a beet, perpetual spinach has an aggregate seed, so when you buy a punnet, you're going to find a bunch of plants clustered in the one spot. It's important to divide these up and plant them individually. And now to a root crop, radish. Although the growth of radish will be slowed in a part shade position, they're still a quick crop, and you'll be harvesting in 6 to 8 weeks. Now for lettuce. They've been a constant of any veggie garden I've ever worked. Now I have 2 varieties here that are fairly common. I've got the iceberg and the cos. Now, like the other plants, their growth will be slowed in a part shade position, but they still do well. And you can push the growth of both the lettuce and the other leafy greens along with regular applications of a liquid feed in the form of a fish emulsion. Why the pot, you ask? Well, mint. It does really well in part shade. In fact, it does a little bit too well and wants to take over your garden. Hence, the pot, to keep it nice and contained. It's a very versatile herb, used in a lot of different forms of cooking. And once you get it in the pot like this, a good little tip is to pinch these ends off. That way, you'll start to promote more branching and you'll get more mint. Lastly, blueberries. Now, the wild blueberry is a native to the southeastern part of the United States. It's an understory woodland plant, hence shade tolerant. Now, it's a close relative of rhododendrons and camellias that like an acidic soil. If you've got an alkaline soil, meaning that your pH is higher, then you can lower it with the application of some agricultural sulfur. soil bacteria convert the sulfur into sulfuric acid, lowering your soil pH, but it does take time. It can take about a year or so. In the meantime, you can pop your blueberries in a pot with a potting mix designed for acid-loving plants. Be sure to plant at least 2 compatible varieties of blueberry. I've got a Blue Rose and a Brigitte, and put them close together to aid pollination. I'll give all that a mulch when the plants get a bit bigger. So there you go, some productive crops that'll grow quite well in part shade. You just need to have the right plant selection and have a bit of patience. See ya.